Climb aboard the skyship Weatherlight and set sail for Magic's true origins, Dominaria. What's up everybody, my name's Jimmy and today we're going to take a look at my top 10 cards from Dominaria. Before we get started, if you like this video, smash that like button. Also subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss anything from Mindsculpting MtG. The plane of Dominaria holds so much history for Magic the Gathering. This set perfectly embodies this history with big returns, callbacks, and some of the most flavorful card design I've seen in a while. Why couldn't Masters 25 be this awesome? To kick things off, let's talk about my honorable mention, Cabal Stronghold. This is a really cool card, but the reason why it's not in the top 10 list is because it's a worse Cabal coffers. To truly take advantage of this card, you have to control at least 5 swamps. Otherwise, you're producing the same mana as you normally would produce with the same amount of lands in play. Cabal coffers this is not, but still a cool card. Cracking into the top 10, we have Navin, Dean of Iteration. A 2-1 for 2 is truly respectable, but Navin's ability is where this card truly shines. If a wizard entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control, that ability triggers an additional time. This makes me so happy. As a kid, Wizard Tribal was one of my favorite archetypes during Onslaught Standard. We have so many excellent wizards in our current standard with excellent ETB triggers. Think about Champion of Witch triggering twice, or even an honorary wizard like Metallic Mimic, or even the newest wizard in our arsenal, Merfolk Trickster. Navin will most definitely be in my Wizard Tribal deck. Next on our list, we have Slimefoot the Stowaway. A 2/3 body for 3, whenever a sapperling you control dies, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Also, you can pay 4 at instant speed to create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. With all the sapperling and fungus support that Dominaria is bringing with it, I would not be surprised to see this turn up in a tier 1 or even tier 2 deck. Vicious Offering would be great in this deck as a sack outlet and spot removal, plus Fungal Plots gives us life gain and awesome card draw. Also, sapperling tokens are extremely easy to make in this standard, plus we just got a 2-drop Lord that pumps fungus creatures as well. Green-Black Arista Fungus. Coming in at number 8, let's talk about Traxos, Scourge of Krug. For 4 mana, you get a 7/7 legendary artifact creature with trample. Unfortunately, it does enter the battlefield tapped and it doesn't untap during your untap step, but whenever you play a historic spell, you get to untap it. Let's be honest, historic spells are plentiful. Artifacts, planeswalkers, legendary creatures, legendary sorceries, sagas, those are all historic. Sure, you'll need to build around this strategy, but in the end, it would be worth it. On Sarah's Wings seems pretty good. Sure, you risk being 2 for 1, but an 8/8 with Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink, and Trample seems like an amazing deal on turn 5. Moving on to number 7, we have History of Benaglio. For 2 white and 1 of anything, you get a Saga enchantment that gives you a 2/2 Knight creature token when it enters the battlefield. Then on your next turn, you get another Knight token, and then on the 3rd and final turn, all of your Knights get +2/+1 until end of turn. This card screams Knight Tribal. Dauntless Bodyguard on turn 1, followed by Famished Paladin on turn 2, then History of Benaglio on turn 3. When the final lore counter is placed on History of Benaglio, that's 17 power at your disposal. Let's say you play a Benalish Marshal on turn 4, following it up with a Pride of Conquerors on turn 5. That's 29 damage even if you don't have the City's Blessing, which you could have easily. Before we get to the top 5, let's talk about my number 6 pick, Darigaz Reincarnated. When I first got into Magic, it was during Invasion Block, and I loved the cycle of legendary dragons from that set. Now, Darigaz is back, bigger and better than before. My only con to this card is if it gets exiled by your opponent, it will not come back. But if we didn't play cards because it dies to your removal, I guess we'd all just be control players, wouldn't we? Getting into the top 5, we have a legendary sorcery, Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. For a white, a black, and 5 of anything, you get to return all legendary permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield. The first thing that comes to mind? Super Friends. As of Ixalan's release, all planeswalkers are legendary. That means if we could build a deck centered around ramp and a little bit of self-milling, we could dump all of our planeswalkers into our graveyard, and then with Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, we could reanimate them. Pair that with Oath of Teferi and we'll be activating loyalty abilities like there's no tomorrow. Maybe the mana cost for this card is a little high, but I'm willing to try it out. Speaking of Teferi, my number 4 spot belongs to Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. A 4 loyalty planeswalker for 5 mana, Teferi is built for control decks. His +1 ability draws you a card and then untaps 2 lands at your end step. His -3 ability puts a non-land permanent into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. Finally, his ultimate gives you an emblem that says whenever you draw a card, exile target non-land permanent that your opponent controls. Teferi offers card draw and removal, perfect for an Azorius control shell. I love how his +1 ability allows you to untap 2 lands, effectively turning back time and leaving those open so you can cast counter spells or spot removal during your opponent's turn. Most definitely one of my favorite planeswalkers I've seen in a very long time. Starting off the top 3, we have Liliana's brother, Josu Ves Lich Knight. For 2 black and 2 of anything, Josu Ves comes with a 4/5 body with Menace. That's already pretty sweet, but if you pay his kicker cost, he comes into play with an army of 2/2 black zombie knight creature tokens. 9 creatures, all with Menace, all with super relevant creature types. If your opponent doesn't wrath the next turn or block with at least 18 creatures, they die. This could go in control, mono black aggro, knight, or zombie tribal. Talk about the bells and whistles. Coming in at number 2 is Lich's Mastery. This card is bonkers. A legendary enchantment for 6 mana with hexproof, it says you can't lose the game, and whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. However, when you lose life, you have to exile a permanent you control, or a card in your hand, or a card from your graveyard, or say it gets removed from the battlefield, you lose the game. No biggie. The good news, this is a great source of card draw in an approach deck. Cast your approach and then redraw it because of the life gain from your approach of the Second Sun. The bad news, burn is not your friend, neither are hyper aggressive decks. I'm really not sure what to do with this card, but it screams break me. So what is my top favorite card of the set? A legendary artifact known as Thran Temporal Gateway. Where do I begin? Okay, so with Skirk Prospector and Wily Goblin, you can cast this as early as turn 3. Then for 4 mana, you can place a historic permanent onto the battlefield from your hand. Turn 4 Nicol Bolas, or how about a turn 4 Zetalpa Primal Dawn? I know, let's do Godpharaoh's Gift on turn 4. Or anything else that has no business being on the battlefield before turn 6. This card scares me almost as much as it excites me. At least it's not Aetherworks Marvel. Those are my top 10 favorite cards from Dominaria. I hope this set has you just as pumped as I am. What are some of your favorite cards from this set? Also, what should I start brewing first? Let me know in the comments section below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next upkeep.